Wait, before going any further, this is part 7 of my ranking of the most commonly talked about analog horror series. If you don't want to be confused and want to understand the full context of what I'm talking about, I would highly recommend watching the other 6 parts that are down in the description below. Okay, now let's begin. Monument Mythos has to be one of the most lore-heavy analog horror series out there by far. Monument Mythos is an alternate history analog horror series and something I haven't really covered on this channel before. What may be a little unsurprising to some of you is that I find alternate history horror to be extremely intriguing, with stuff like All Tomorrows really catching my intrigue, so this series has really caught my eye. Compared to a lot of the other series out there, this one does not leave everything in the text, but rather leaves quite a bit of it within subtext, and with just how much lore there is, it's no surprise that this one has a big cult following, but unfortunately in this video I will not be able to get super deep into it because there's just so much lore within it. It would take me hours to get through the entire series, and this can be shown in the average length of a video covering this series being about an hour. Honestly, it's somewhat shocking to see just how much there is here compared to the average series. It leaves so much for you to look into and dive so deep into history, much more than any of the other historically based analog horror series that I've seen thus far. But does that mean I really enjoyed this series and that I think it's one of the best out there? Or do I think it falls flat and it's a waste of time? Well, you'll just have to wait and see. But before getting into my thoughts, let's do a brief overview of the plot. Before getting into this, I should really preface for you guys major spoiler warning. If you haven't watched it, then go watch it. Seriously, form your own opinion first, then come back. Okay, now let's continue. Monument Mythos is one of the most lore-heavy series out there, and it would take me way too long to go over everything that goes on within this series. If I wanted to cover the lore of the entire series, this video would most likely be hours upon hours long, and there's more than one series here. On a more in-depth talk about the lore, I would honestly watch Wendigoon's video deep diving and giving theories of what's going on here. Also, for this video, we are only going to be covering the original series, not the Nixon verse, not the modern day, no, just the original series and its 26 episodes. Yes, you heard me right, 26. The series is extremely long and super lore heavy. So, to make time, let's continue. So, in short, the world of Monument Mythos is an alternate universe to our own with many similarities. However, there are 2 crucial points where history diverts from our own. First off, instead of Rockefeller just being the owner of Standard Oil, instead he's elected president and helps to grow the US. However, he runs into a special tree which upon putting it in Rockefeller Center, where the tree is in our own timeline, it begins to communicate with the children nearby. When a small group of them all gather around the special tree, they disappear and then reappear the next day. However, their memories are completely different. They seem to remember Rockefeller like he is in our own universe, a wealthy tycoon, which confuses the man and causes him to remove the tree from Rockefeller Center. The other divergence point is with James Dean, who instead of dying at the young age of 24 like he does in our own universe, becomes the 37th president of the United States, beating Richard Nixon and getting people out of the Vietnam War. But while there are timeline divergences, what none of these people are prepared for is the more sinister ones. That of course being the hidden secrets inside of all the country's monuments, with the Statue of Liberty, Mount Rushmore, Alcatraz, and the Statue of Freedom all hiding sinister secrets. The biggest one that stands out here is Alcatraz, which instead of just being a normal island is actually a living organism which wants to assimilate everything nearby, which it of course does along the west coast, killing millions. However, what connects with all these strange phenomena are that of the Giza glass and the special trees. Giza glass is a glass which is found near the pyramids, which I mean, duh. But instead of being fragile like most glasses are, it's extremely sturdy and so sharp that one person who accidentally just fell on a piece was decapitated instantly. It also doesn't kill whomever it dismembers, instead leaving them to wallow and flail in pain. And the special trees, which is literally just the wood part, there's no leaves on them, are the same thing that Rockefeller brought to Rockefeller Center and seems to be the origin of all the issues within the universe. Every single spot where a special tree is spotted is where the issues begin, and we see multiple waves of civilization getting annihilated as they try to deal with this natural enemy. And there are multiple scenarios here where hundreds die. For an example, in an alternate world war, Rockefeller allows Germany to use the bodies of the people killed by the Statue of Freedom to fuel their Zeppelins. And I should detail really fast, a lot of these statues do end up coming to life, like the Statue of Freedom goes around with its sword, which is actually made of Giza glass, and starts killing hundreds of people. And I know that sounds a bit ridiculous, but you just gotta trust me with this. And unlike a lot of the series where they try to explore a way for the people to stop this mass death scenario, it instead just details the way people in this timeline must adjust to the horrors around them, as many of the monsters in this series are unkillable and they must just learn to live with them and to minimize the toll. And now you can see just how complex this series truly is. There's just so many things that's going on at once, and why, if I went into a full detail onto the plot, it would take me hours to cover. To truly understand the series, you need to watch it all the way through. This is just a short snippet of everything that happens within it. There's so much going on here that in order to fully understand it, you do have to watch it yourself. Which is why, even if you haven't seen it yet and you saw this with the spoilers, I would still recommend watching it yourself. Like, it's that important to watch it yourself because you will not understand what's going on. And now let's get into my actual thoughts. Before getting into this section, make sure if you haven't already that you like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me a lot, as with these videos I get to live out my passion of giving my honest feedback. And also I want to hear your opinions on this series. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Let me know in the comments down below. Now let's continue. Honestly, it doesn't get much better than this. Almost every single thing about this series just works for me, and that's besides the super convoluted aspects of it. Its presentation is spectacular, using an actual documentary style unlike what a lot of the other analog series have been trying to do. It tries its hardest to present itself as a real world, although slightly different from our own, and that just makes this series super special. It's just so nice to watch a series that seems to make every single right decision from a presentation aspect, where it shows rather than tells, and lets us fill in the gaps. And what also makes this series just so fun is the world building itself. He makes this world just feel real. You can hear and see all the nuances it has from our own, but it still feels more believable than something like the South Park analog horror. It allows me to push back that sense of disbelief and just enjoy the world you are stuck in for 26 episodes, and that's just such a wonderful thing. And that feels even more shocking for me to say, as this is the same series where Alcatraz comes to life and wipes out Oakland and San Francisco. It's got some ridiculous concepts, but it has so much fun with them that you really cannot bat too much of an eye. It's extremely obvious when a creator has low confidence in their world building, usually going off of cliches and archetypes to build their world instead of just trying to build something more organic and real. For example, one of my favorite moments of the series is when the kids arrive at Rockefeller Center with memories from our own timeline. It's such a fun moment for the series as it's a nod to our own timeline and allows people who know who Rockefeller is to have another layer of mystery within the story. The series just takes that extra step, which is what I have just been asking from a series for a long time now, which is even funnier to me considering the series is actually a satire of American politics. I've gotten so tired of the cookie cutter analog horror series out there, and honestly this one just checks all the right boxes. I also love alternate history and history in general, so honestly I may be a little biased with this one as it's just such a fun alternate history and idea, and you can tell the creator is having tons of fun with it. It's crazy that this series, which doesn't take itself seriously in the slightest, is able to do so much more than a lot of what I see people claiming to be the best that analog horror has to offer. It's such a fun series and doesn't really try to do anything more than it is, which is honestly such a breath of fresh air. It actually knows what it is, which is also a super important step. Series that try so hard to be something that the concept doesn't even fit within doesn't make it any better, instead it just makes it insufferably annoying to watch. And one of the main ways that Monument Mythos avoids this is by doing a reinvention cycle style of writing. Instead of sticking on one singular subject for the entire series, which for a longer form series could get really boring and similar over time a la Urban Spook, it instead reinvents itself every couple episodes, almost like a bunch of vignettes and people caught within this timeline. This doesn't mean that the timeline is super funky and all over the place, it's still got continuity, but it's not just focusing on the same subject for every episode. If each episode just revolved around people disappearing from the special trees and coming back differently, then it would get boring really fast. However, instead of that, we see multiple phases of things going wrong, like Alcatraz attacking, the kids going missing, the sirens which deafen and kill millions, which does a good job of keeping things going while also adding on to the main continuity. This is how most series and films work, and considered one of the essentials of screenwriting, so honestly it's surprising that this is one of the few series where I've seen it actually done. But when looking for things wrong with this series, I really can't think of many. It's an extremely well written piece of satire. Maybe it got worse after the first 2 seasons, I really don't know as I haven't fully watched them yet, which is why I preface this as about the original run. Now let's get on to my actual rating. This series has it all, from a great presentation, actually intriguing storytelling, and a fully put together plot. And when considering that all, I can really only see one rating in my head, which is that of an S tier. The series is just the best of the best. It really doesn't get any better than here. And remember, if you like this video, to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you all next week.